Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about, well, it is official. The Pretty Little Liars reboot created by Roberto is officially canceled. And I kind of figured it would be canceled and stuff. I mean, after the second season, it's been crickets online whether or not this show would get renewed. And also, there were some signs that it would not get renewed as well. Because, like, okay, the fandom on Twitter seems to be rather small when talking about this show. It always seems to be the same people over and over on Twitter talking about this show. And it's not as big as many people would assume, like with the original. And, a lot of the people on Twitter keep saying it's the number one rated show on like HBO Max, highest rated views, stuff like that. There is a reason for that. See, the first season, before people even watched it, they was curious to see what it was going to be about. People who were both slasher fans and fans of the original. So, of course, tons of people tuned in and tons of people watched, giving it a high view count and got it renewed very early. But then after people watched it, they just kind of made up their mind then and there they would not come back for a second season. It's similar to what happened with Velma. Although I don't know if Velma's getting a third season or not. But it was hate watch, Velma was the first season, and it got renewed for a second. And so, technically, Pretty Little Liars, The Original Sins, or Summer School, whatever you want to call it, isn't really the highest rated television show on HBO Max because people loved it. It was just out of pure curiosity. And when it came to that of Original Sin, I saw one dude, he reviewed the first episode, and he's all like, not my cup of tea, but it's all right. I prefer the original, but he likes the different direction they're going into. But he never did a follow-up review on that because he gave up on it. And, the red flags of it not getting renewed, I could tell. Because the moment the second season came out, I noticed something. Some of the stars on the show were aggressively engaging on social media for people to watch the show. The actress who plays Imogen, I can't think of her name right now. Bailey Madison. She would not shut up on Twitter. And I mean, she would not shut up about the show. She was constantly flooding her feeds with Pretty Little Liars Summer School. And I'm just kind of like, okay, if the show was good and if you knew it was going to come out for a third season, you would not be flooding your feeds with content about the show, constantly talking about it. But she wouldn't talk about it on Instagram. But she would constantly talk about it on like Twitter. And a couple of the other stars would do the same, and some just decided not to do it whatsoever. Then you had Roberto talking about if they get picked up for a third season, he wanted to do a musical. Why the if? Why wouldn't he know right then and there? And I bet you anything, HBO Max knew they was going to cancel the show before the second season even got started. Because somebody probably watched Original Sin and it's kind of like, what the heck is this? And probably heard people complaining about it. And it was all like, all right, look, dude. We'll give you this second season, but your ratings better be legit. And if they're not, it's bye-bye show. So what does Roberto do? He does what Roberto does best. He writes a half-baked show and put it out. The second season was not good, people. You need to understand that. The first season was not good either. But at least the first season was more interesting, and the first season had more of a real plot. The second season was just like a bunch of people coming up with ideas, putting those ideas in a bucket, spinning the bucket around, and pulling out whatever idea they have for that episode. It was a literal mess. And I mean, it was a literal mess of a season and everything. Nothing made sense in the second season because that's Roberto for you. And like, some of the most outrageous, dumb stuff just happened in the second season. The plots of the killers were stupid. The man didn't even know who Bloody Rose was until towards the end of creating the season. That is something he has admitted to. So this is why the motive of Bloody Rose made absolutely no sense when the killers were revealed and everything. Because he literally had no idea. You assumed it was building up to something leading to, like, teenagers doing it and everything. But then you turn out has nothing to do with that. And it's just, look, this show needed to end, okay? I feel bad for the stars involved in this because the stars I actually liked. And you can tell that some of them just wasn't feeling the second season because, like, for the most part, they acted really good in the first season, but come to the second season, some people just like phoned in the performance because even they realized what the heck are they saying and why are they having to do this for, And it's like some of the stars, like I said, wouldn't even promote this show. Like there's this one actress, she just constantly kept posting hot pictures of herself and wasn't even like thinking twice about this show. And everything, you know what I'm saying? But this is what happened when you have a creator like Roberto, who is a terrible showrunner. He is a terrible writer. I have said that before. And his writing staff is not particularly good either. And they're not that diverse and stuff. Like, the black characters are written so oddly on this show. The people of color are written so oddly on this show. I have said it before. It is literally the Imogen show. Because none of these characters, it doesn't make sense as to why they're friends with each other. It really doesn't. Like, I understand Tabby and Imogen, but other than that, I don't understand why any of the other girls are friends with them. Because they don't act like they're friends. They act like they're forced friends. I mean, if this second season was really supposed to be about Tabby, why did it focus so much on Imogen? Why is it that when Imogen, like, here's the thing, like, here's the thing with the fans of this show. They complain and say fans of the original complain too much about this show. They're all like, I really like this show, but it's hard for me to watch because the original fans of the original series keep trashing this show and everything. First of all, you can still watch this show no matter how much hate it gets from the original fandom. Two, there's a reason why the original fandom hates this show. It is nothing like the first original series. The original series was thought out in the first couple of seasons it was. Towards the middle and the end, it just turned stupid. But this was like back then, the original series knew what it was supposed to be about. It knew how to write characters. It knew how to write like suspense. It knew how to write drama. This show had no clue what it was doing and everything. The cast in the first season melded so well together. They was like, they really bonded. You could tell they was friends. In this show, I don't know why anybody's friends with anybody in this show. Literally, whenever Imogen is like upset, here come all the girls. All right, girls, group hug and everything. And then they just like huddle around Imogen, hugging her like she's a little baby who needs to be cradled and everything. What is is that about? Because, like, okay, the good thing about this show, it has more diversity in it in terms of race, where the original was predominantly white. So if you have a show with tons of women of color, why does it still gravitate around the white girl and everything? Why is it every time she's upset, they just huddle around her and give her a hug? They literally stop whatever it is they're doing just to comfort her and everything. And once again, this entire season was about her. It was her having nightmares. It was her not wanting to give up her baby. It is her seeing hallucinations. She got the final punch in on like the villain, even though she didn't kill the villain, but she got the final punch in. That's a final girl move. Once again, it is about her. When people say, oh, well, it's about Tabby and everything. No, it's not. Like, it's really about her. They made it once again about her. So once again, they took this person of color show and made it all about the white girl again. And then the villains were terrible this season, like the reveals and everything. Having that whole Scream connection was stupid because Roberto is not an original person. There was so much Scream reference in this season, it was insane. Even the music was ripped from the Scream movies and stuff. Roberto is just not an original person. Nothing about him has ever been original, except for probably like one movie he created back in the day that did terribly bad and everything. Like, literally. Like the whole Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Sabrina was already an IP that he took over and did his own little twist and spin on. Like I said before, the comic, from what I've heard, is really good, but he screwed the television show up. How do you screw up your own source material? How? That don't make no sense. Like, how do you screw that up? The source material was right there, and he screwed it up. Then there is Riverdale, an IP that was already popular because it's the Archie comics. He put his own spin on it. Once again, he screwed up his own source material. How the heck do you do that? And the whole making the show a murder mystery wasn't even his idea. It was Greg Berlanti and everything. He doesn't come up with anything. And Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, which he later renamed Summer School for some dumb reason, because they're rarely in summer school, so why did you call it that? Once again, a famous IP, and he just put a slasher spin to it. Because he thinks he's like the most creative person ever. And then he had the audacity to talking about if they get a third season, he's going to have one episode be a musical because it's never been done before. Nobody wanted a musical episode in Pretty Little Liars. What the heck made him think that people will want that for? And people were outraged when they heard about that. And rightfully so. Even the fans, his fans of Original Sin, talked about how they don't want a musical and they want I, Marlene King to come back. And if you want I, Marlene King to come back, then you know you are desperate because she screwed up the original halfway through the series. So once again, Hollywood gave this man like a really huge IP, and once again, he has screwed it up and everything because he literally just don't know what the heck he's doing. Like, he seriously just don't, and he just does things, and people give him shows, and people give him money, and I don't understand why. Put this man in showrunner jail already, and make him learn his lesson that his ideas, while, you know, it is good to take risks, you know what I'm saying? And he does have his own style, it's just not working. Even his Riverdale fans gave up on him and everything. And trying to connect Pretty Little Liars to Riverdale, all the Riverdale spinoffs, and something else, I forgot what, was just stupid. Nobody wanted, oh, Sabrina. So, like, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, all those Riverdale spinoffs, Pretty Little Liars, and all those spinoffs are all connected because of him. Then he ruined some of the characters that he had, like Noah. Like, he completely assassinated that character. She was dreadful in the second season. Like, she was just dreadful and everything. And I haven't even finished the second season, and I never will, because I gave up after 4 episodes. But from what I've heard about what she did in the remainder of the series was disgusting. Then there is Dr. Sullivan. He ruined an original character from the original series. And then he killed her off and everything. This man doesn't know how to cook in the kitchen, and he needs to get out because he is getting burnt. And that is why this show has got canceled. So don't blame it on the original fans of the original series. You blame it on him, because this man literally does not have a clue as to what the heck he is doing. Because it's not that hard to write. It's not. And when it comes to his former star, I'm talking about the Pretty Little Liars people, but I'm talking about like the Riverdale people, the only person who defends him is Lily Reinhart. She is the only person who defends this dude. And I get why she does. Before she was on Riverdale, nobody knew who she was. She was not a household name. And now that, she was on Riverdale, people know who she is. She's getting movie deals as a result of it. And so I get it. She's loyal in that sense. But everybody else have pretty much cut that cord from that man and everything. Because they realize he can't write to save his life. He can't write people of color. He can't write women that well. And he can't even write the LGBT that well. Like, former stars of his shows who have either played LGBT characters or who were not part of the community, or people who did play it who are part of the community, have complained about him. They literally had to sit his behind down and tell him, hey, look, man, you need to explain this a little bit better and not just rush the storyline, or you need to give more depth to this storyline. And it's bad when his Riverdale star called him out on social media halfway through the series, before the series was even over with, when it was still in its earlier stages. She was willing to risk her career by calling out the showrunner because he doesn't know how to write women of color. And he's all like, oh, I'm new and all this, and I'll understand. He still doesn't understand. I mean, having Farron lift that steel beam on her shoulders to show that she's a strong woman, and showing that she can beat up men and outrace men and everything else, that's not showing you a strong woman. And as for her being a woman of color, I'm still hung over that whole hair thing in season 1. Nobody made fun of her hair. Nobody made her feel less of a black girl because she had straight hair. So why did she make it curly all of a sudden? Talking about, I just want to show off my curls now. And those curls aren't even real curls. I'm sorry. When you see black women on television with that curly, wavy hair, that is not natural. That's biracial black girl natural. That's not like black girl natural, all right? We got, like, black people got those nappy roots, all right? It's beady and it's nappy. That is not natural. But still, they made it seem like it was a point that people was looking down on her blackness, but nobody was. And if you're not going to kill off your main cast, then your show does not have stakes. And I said that before. This is not going to work as a good slasher series because you're not willing to kill off your main stars. He just doesn't know what he's doing, period. And I knew for a fact that this show was going to get canceled. I've been waiting for that to happen. I have literally been looking online waiting for this announcement so I can make this video. Because I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. Because the people who work at HBO Max saw this show and were just like, what the heck did we get involved with? Because it's not a good written show. It just isn't. And I've seen people defend this show. I've seen people with like expressions on their face when they like the gasping expression on their thumbnails about the show. I'm just like, what are you gasping about? The show's not that good. And I get it, it has its fan base. But like I told you before, if you go on Twitter, it's a niche fan base on Twitter. It is the same people always talking about this show and always complaining about the original fans and everything. And they keep telling the same stuff over and over. This show is amazing. This show is great. This show is phenomenal. This is one of the best shows ever. It's the highest rated show on HBO Max. If that's all they have to do is constantly keep saying the same thing over and over, then you know they're just gaslighting. They're trying to come up with something clever to say about the show, because even they realize something's wrong with this show. And I've seen fans of this show on Twitter beg HBO Max to renew it. When you start seeing fans beg months after the finale happens, you know it's not going to get renewed. They knew it wasn't going to get renewed. It's been literally months, and there's been no word on whether or not this show is getting renewed. How many months was it? Was it June? It's been at least 4.5 months, or at least 4 months, since the finale ended and everything. And there was no word on this show getting renewed. It was like dead silence. Not even the stars said anything, because they weren't allowed to say anything. But they knew, everybody knew this show was getting canceled. I mean, when you have a show and the website on this show is a thing called Spooky Spaghetti, and they say it like 1,000,000 times on the show, that is ridiculous. How are you suspecting people to take your show seriously, a slasher show, with something called Spooky Spaghetti? And he didn't learn the lessons of the original series. He had adults messing around with young people. He had characters that would act dumb at times, like the main cast would act really stupid at times. Every guy in his show was literally toxic except for like one. And the one that happened to not be like toxic, well, we all know why that character wasn't. But like, seriously, every other man was like terrible monsters in this show. How do you expect people to like and want to watch this and everything? Spooky Spaghetti. Seriously, man. Spooky Spaghetti. Like, I can't take that seriously. It's like the whole Jenga Jangle thing from like Riverdale and stuff. And one of the stars on the show is now on Dancing with the Stars. So you knew it was over with. Like, you knew it was over with if they're taking other jobs already and stuff. And I feel bad for now the cast. Because now the cast of this show gonna have to prove that they can work. You know what I'm saying? And they can like do something more serious and everything. Because the people of Riverdale, some of them have gotten new shows and everything and movies, and some of them have not. Because when you're on a show with the creator who can't create nothing that well, Hollywood just looks at you as kind of like, you're part of that failed show, so we don't want nothing to do with you and everything. So now some of them are going to have to prove they have what it takes in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And that sucks for them. Because this man needs to realize something. He can have his vision, but your vision also has to meet the needs of everybody, because your niche fan base isn't going to be able to keep a show alive for a long time. Somehow it was with Riverdale, you know, and that was mostly because of the CW, because they knew the ratings were low, but the ratings were high on Netflix. And so they kept it for that, to get some revenue out of that and everything. But even they had to pull the plug because it just got too ridiculous and the numbers just got too low. And so many of the stars wanted to leave. I'm not joking. People from Riverdale literally asked to leave the show. One dude said that like if he wasn't going to leave the show, he was going to like jump out of a window or something like that. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.